Hello and welcome to a new video, and today we're taking a look at the Southend Pier Railway, the longest pier railway in the world. And here on the map you can see our route today. Surprisingly, it's going all the way in a straight line, obviously, as we are on the pier. And we are starting in Southend at our hotel, which is the Wetherspoon Hotel, the last post. And as we arrived very early in the morning, in the last video with a flight by Ryanair from Berlin, we couldn't check in yet, so we just had breakfast and left our luggage at the hotel. Then we took a train to Shoeburyness. This train ride will be the topic of the next video. And from there we walked all the way on the coastline and back to Southend, which was a very nice and scenic walk with a lot of nature. And of course it's always very nice to walk by the sea. And now we're slowly approaching Southend again, and what's quite surprising for me as a German was that there are a lot of palm trees in Southend. I was not expecting this from a city in the UK, but sometimes it felt more like Spain than like England. Right next to the pier is Adventure Island, which is an amusement park with free admission. You just have to pay if you want to do an attraction like a mini golf or this roller coaster, which was one of the highlights of the park, with a very impressive lift hill and first drop and a few loops. So that was quite a nice thing to do, and later on we also did an attraction called Axis, which you can see here, which is the second main attraction of the park. So the good thing about this park is you do not have to pay admission, so you can either buy a day ticket, which allows you unlimited rides on all attractions, or you just pay per ride. So if you just, like us, want to do 2 attractions once, you will save a lot of money. And then we went back to the last post, our hotel, because now it was time to check in. Here you can see our nice and cozy room, which was quite reasonable priced, as it was the main tourist time in Southend, so all the hotels were quite expensive, and this hotel had a reasonable price for a good quality. And now it was time to head to the Pier Railway, where luckily the old train, the blue train, was in service today. Usually the newer trains are used nowadays, the green trains, but for whatever reason this day the blue train was still in service, so that was quite a nice surprise to be able to ride with the old train. Obviously the ride is not too spectacular as it's only going in a straight line, but it's quite nice to go on the pier with the train. I know it's quite common in the UK, there are quite a few pier railways, but in Germany no such thing exists, so for a German that was quite a unique thing. I did the pier railway close to Southampton at the beginning of the year, which is the oldest pier railway in the world. And now I'm here on the longest pier railway in the world. So I quite enjoy going on these pier railways. Firstly because it's usually quite old trains with a bumpy and squeaky ride. And second of all because it's just impressive to go with a train out on the ocean. In this case the pier is about 1.34 miles long and the pier railway is 1.25 miles long, which is quite an impressive length, and it's saving you quite a bit of walking. But of course you have to pay extra if you want to use the railway line. Here on the pier you can see the second of the old trains, which is now used, for example, as waiting room or to house some card games. So they still preserved it, but of course it's not a train anymore. Here on the pier you have several possibilities to get a drink and a bit of food, which is what we actually also did. And then we just walked around a bit. Here's also a museum, and a small shop, so there are quite a few things to do. And also you can watch the ships sailing by, the ships coming from or going to London. So we spent a bit of time here on the pier before heading back to the train station. In general, you have to pay an admission to go to the pier, and if you want to use the train, you have to pay a bit more than if you would just be walking. But if you want to be walking, bear in mind it's almost 3 miles to walk there and back, so it's quite a long distance to walk, and it's also quite a nice thing to use the Pier Railway. And now we can take a look at our train arriving back from Southend. The interior of the train is nothing special, it's just a very short ride of about 10 minutes, so obviously it's not very comfortable, it's just those benches without seat padding. But still, it is quite nice to do a ride on this old train with all the typical noises, and if you have a nice weather like this, it's also just quite beautiful to watch the sea as we are going back to Southend. If you're going back to Southend, it's also quite interesting because you get a look at how this pier is actually working, how it is constructed, because the station Southend is on 2 stories and the lowest story is for the train and the upper story is for people that are walking. And here we are now slowly approaching Southend. Here we can see the beach of Southend already, and now we're going down on the lower platform, on the lower level of the pier. And now we can take a look at how the pier is constructed, which I think is a quite nice look behind the scenes. There is also the workshop of the Pier Railway. Obviously there's no connection to any other railway, so if you have to repair something, everything has to be done here. So there's also of course a small workshop below the actual pier. Through the windows we can already see the amusement park Adventure Island again, so it's very easy to combine the Pier Railway and the Adventure Island, as they are just very close to each other. But for us it was time to go back to the hotel. Here we can see the Mediterranean plants once again, and this time we're taking the elevator. It's actually not necessary to use the lift, but it still offers you some fantastic views as it is a panoramic lift, and that's why I would recommend taking it even if you do not need to use it. And it will bring you up to this viewing platform. Again, nice views of the amusement park and the pier itself. And then it was time to head back after taking another look at Axis and the roller coaster. Here we can see Axis in action again. And then it was time to head back to our hotel, where we also had dinner. As you know, Wetherspoons is known for having very low prices and quite reasonable quality, so that was quite okay for us to have a dinner there, save a bit of money then, other than going to an expensive restaurant. And on the next day, as I said, we will taking the train firstly from Southend to Shoeburyness, and then we will also see the part from Southend to Tilbury. But that's the topic of the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Here you can see when the next video will be uploaded, and as always I'd like to say thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link.